at 101 WIXX Green Bay.
Let me start off with my economy file this Thursday morning. Congress continues to ponder that $100 billion or so tax increase bill today. Today, incidentally, is the anniversary of the first income tax ever passed in this country. Back in 1862, to pay for the Civil War, most income earners were required to pay all of 3% on their incomes, and the tax was canceled in 1872 when the war was all paid for. A little good news for us. The Conference Board, a private business group of analysts, reports that consumer confidence was up again last month for the third month in a row. Roughly 1 in every 4 of us thinks business conditions will improve later this year and that he or she will be making more money. The Israeli government today informed folks in Israel that prices are being raised up to 36% there for basic foods, things like milk and bread, in order to pay for the Lebanese invasion. I understand the morning papers in Israel gave prominent coverage to President Reagan's warning to Menachem Begin to back off on Israel's attack on Beirut. I'm Nick Alexander, ABC FM Radio.
For you, for me, it's gotta be Cheryl Teague. Cheryl Teague's for juniors. It's just our style, only at Sears. Shirts, high-collared and high fashion, $19. Jackets that hug the hips, $33. Sweaters with a leaf motif and knickers made of cord from the Cheryl Teague's collection for juniors. Available on or about August 1st in most Sears retail stores. For you, for me, it's gotta be Cheryl Teague. The look says it's Cheryl Teague's. The value says it's Sears.
A big exam, I got my tools.
I'm running late, I got my tools.
I'm having fun, I got my tools.
I'm on a date, I got my tools.
My sugarless tools. I got flavor so tremendous. I got taste so stupendous. I got flavor, I got taste, I got tools.
Jewel Sugarless Gum is center-filled with great juicy flavor in spearmint, cinnamon, and bubble gum.
I got flavor, I got taste, I got tools. My sugarless tools, I got tools.
On this date in 1963, Britain, the Soviet Union, and the United States, the 3 nuclear powers, signed a treaty banning the testing of nuclear weapons in the air, in space, or underwater, but not underground. And later this morning, near the town of Mercury, Nevada, our government will publicly set off an atom bomb, nuclear device, I mean, nearly half a mile underground, for the 593rd time since the first test bomb was dropped back in 1951. There have been other secret tests in addition, and of course 2 atom bombs were tested on people at the end of World War II. Lawyers for ranchers in Utah say they'll sue the government for $100 million damages for all the sheep that died back in the early 50s as a result of our nuclear test program and loose radiation. A federal judge yesterday ruled that the government tried to cover up the evidence of radiation pollution in a similar lawsuit filed more than 25 years ago. He ordered a new trial. Medical researchers at Brown University, by the way, say they're getting ready to implant an artificial lung in a sheep, practice for an eventual first human lung transplant. And a final animal note, a follow-up on Nessie, the maybe legendary, maybe real Loch Ness Monster. This morning, a Scottish engineer is saying he thinks the so-called sea serpent is really just an old pine log, which rises to the surface of Loch Ness now and then because of a buildup of natural gas. That's the news. I'm Nick Alexander on the ABC FM radio network.
72 degrees in the valley, 74 in Green Bay. Good afternoon. It's 12:32, and complete details on the weather follow the news. I'm Kathy Staffelt. Finally, a break in a murder of a Green Bay man last fall. Brown County District Attorney Peter Nazi held a press conference this morning. Dan Smith has that report.
Brown County authorities have charged 2 Green Bay men with the slaying of 30-year-old David Morrow of Greenhill Street last fall. Sheriff Norb Fralick, District Attorney Nazi, and Lieutenant Marvin Gerlikowski held a press conference late this morning to announce the arrests of 24-year-old Robert Wirtz of 133 South Quincy Street and 34-year-old Kenneth Phillips Jr. of 1950 Baston Street. Nazi said Wirtz would be charged with first-degree murder, Phillips with aiding and abetting that murder. Morrow's body was found in a wooded area along Deerfield Avenue in the village of Howard on October 21st by hunters. County officials said today they believe Morrow was murdered on October 17th. An autopsy showed he died of 2 gunshot wounds to the head fired from close range. District Attorney Nazi could not answer specific questions because much of the information in the investigation was garnered during a John Doe probe into the slaying held recently. That information is still protected. Nazi did say that Phillips and Wirtz knew the victim previously. Nazi also said no weapon had been recovered by the nearly year-long investigation into the murder. Virts and Phillips are scheduled for an initial appearance this afternoon before Circuit Judge Charles Keene. Phillips had been held in custody on charges of burglary and sexual assault previously. Virts was arrested by authorities last evening. I'm Dan Smith for WIXX News.
Tragedy at the EAA again. A 25-year-old Franklin, Wisconsin woman had part of her leg severed when a runaway plane taxied 200 feet into the camping area at the Experimental Aircraft Association's convention. The prop severed her leg below the knee. Authorities say the pilot was hand-spinning the prop to start the single-engine plane when the mishap occurred. The plane's engine started and it moved forward, pulling out restraining ropes and rolling 200 feet into the woman's tent. The victim and the pilot were not immediately identified. A tense hostage drama in Dodge County this morning ended without injury, but not until a SWAT team was called in to assist. Greg Davis has the story.
20-year-old man was arrested at gunpoint this morning by a SWAT team following an early morning standoff in Dodge County. Sheriff Ted Meekma says William Clapper of rural Beaver Dam held 4 other occupants of a house along 151 hostage for well over 4 hours. Meekma says Clapper and another man, plus 2 women and a 2-year-old boy, resided together at the house. Clapper apparently held the other man and a mother and child at the house with a .22 caliber rifle, while Dodge County deputies and negotiators rushed to the scene. State Patrol officers were called in.
He was told to drop the weapon. This command was given at least 3 times before he actually did, and then he was taken into custody without any further incident.
Clapper's under arrest for false imprisonment, battery, and reckless use of a weapon. He's at the Dodge County Jail in Juneau. Meekma says at least 15 law enforcement officers aided in the arrest. This is Greg Davis for WIXX News.
Governor Lee Dreyfus said today Wisconsin will move quickly to comply with a judge's order so construction of a new prison can proceed at Portage. Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Patrick Sheedy yesterday issued a temporary injunction blocking construction of that prison at Portage. Sheedy says the environmental impact statement prepared did not take into consideration all public concerns. On a related matter, the governor says he has the utmost confidence in State Corrections Administrator Elmer Katie. The Coalition of Corrections Institution Officers have called for Katie's removal. They complained about crowded prison conditions and working conditions. Dreyfus says the state has plans to move the National Guard into prisons to take over if the prison guards walk out. 4 units of the town of Morrison Volunteer Fire Department responded to a barn fire yesterday on the Dennis Gosson farm at Route 1 De Pere. Brown County Police say the blaze began in a milk house on the east side of Ridgeview Road, south of County 00. Flooring, milking equipment, and piping were damaged, but no dollar damage estimate was available. Green Bay Packer Camp continues this week. With a report on this morning's practice, here's WIXX Sports Director Mark Red Eye Daniels.
The most notable development of this morning's session at the Green Bay Packer training camp was the absence of quarterback Lynn Dickey and linebacker Mike Douglas, both still sporting leg injuries. Douglas wasn't even on the field today, while Dickey only did some light throwing. Lynn will probably most likely be withheld from workouts throughout the remainder of this week, and it's doubtful that Douglas will even take part in this Saturday's scrimmage against the Buffalo Bills. Packers will be back out on the practice field again 3:30 this afternoon. From the Packer camp, I'm Mark Daniels for WIXX.
Brown County Police are investigating the theft of a readily identifiable piece of property, parts for a 1928 Ford Auto, including the chassis, axles, transmission, and other parts. Exact value of that car isn't known, but the owner says it's over $1,000. Weather for Green Bay and the Valley becoming partly cloudy today, highs around 80 inland, cooler near the lake. For tonight and tomorrow, partly cloudy, overnight lows 60 to 65, tomorrow's highs in the low 80s, but again cooler near Lake Michigan. 72 degrees in the Valley, 74 in Green Bay. It's 12:37. Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Staffeld, and we're Rock 101, WIXX Green Bay. We are the music.
When I was a little boy,